Hey, it's Rob Ryder on Monday, August 24th, 2020. And I'm doing this video mainly for election clerks, hoping that those of you who follow me will send an email with a link to this video to your local election clerk. We all have one. It's the township clerk or the city clerk or whomever, right? I mean, you can find them. They're online. And tell them they should watch this video, right? If you could do that, maybe some will, and then between them all, they can get the information out to the rest. But I want to talk about the local election clerk's duty to inform the United States Attorney General, right, when there's discrepancies in things that are going on. And so they need to inform, and I'm going to be their informant. I'm Staff Sergeant Robert Allen Rutluski, United States Army veteran. And we are both oath-bound federal officers. Right, so we need to be doing it by the book. If there's one thing that needs to be done by the book, other than nuclear power plants, which I have some familiarity with, where everything is done by the book, it's elections. If it isn't being done by the book, that means the devil has gotten into the details and there's something going on behind the scene. When you stop doing it by the book, you start doing it by custom. And that custom could be in opposition to the book. You don't really necessarily know it because you never read the book. And so I'm going to show you in 5 minutes that we're not following the book. And then I'm going to put it on your conscience, local election clerks, to do something about it. I'm going to continue doing my thing to do something about it. But you have an obligation. And if you want us to talk about it, well, contact me at quarterrecord@AOL.com. Let's work together, right? Like I said, I have the information. I am an information vacuum cleaner, man. I just eat it up. So I'm going to share just enough with you right now to prove my point, and then the rest of the video will be me, coloring the picture more with where all these little details come from. But give me just a second, and I'll show you just a few things it takes to show that we're not doing things by the book, and somebody needs to contact the United States Attorney General. Okay, hang on a second. Okay, so first of all, we're going to start with what I can prove, and then I'll talk about the things that I believe. But here's what I can prove. And this is just for the state of Michigan. I have to believe it's the same for all states, that you have an election officials manual of some kind. Right? And this is from the Michigan Bureau of Elections, Chapter 2, voter registration. So whatever manual your state would use for the election official for voter registration, whether you're a clerk or not, that's what I'm talking about. Go try to find yours online. And so put in like Ohio Election Officials Manual and see if it comes up. If it doesn't come up, right, try it again tomorrow and see if it comes up, because there's something about this, system that runs the system that I have found numerous times when I've asked something one time, I got very few answers. But if I asked it again later, days or weeks later, all of a sudden there was all this new information online that wasn't there the first time I asked about it. So, okay. So in here it talks about voter registration. And just so we can get to the point first, and then we'll, go fill it in. Master, right? So processing acceptable voter registration applications. If a voter registration application is accepted, the clerk uses the information on the application to verify the voter is in the QVF, which is a qualified voter file that's kept by the Secretary of State. Then create the following voter registration records: a master card generated from the QVF and a voter information card, right? Voter information card. Let me highlight that before I forget. So what are you supposed to do, clerk? Master card and a voter information card, right? That's by the book. Okay, and then after creating the voter master card on which the voter's digitized signature will be printed, right? So this card has to have, this master card then has to have the signature of the elector. The clerk is required to prepare a voter information card. What kind of card? Voter information card for the applicant, which includes the applicant's name and registration address, congressional, state, senate, state representative, and county commissioner district numbers, precinct number, polling place location. Okay, so that's what they're supposed to give you. Now let me show you what they do give you. All right? They sent me a voter identification card. It doesn't say voter information card. It says voter identification card. And on it, it has U.S. Congressional, State Senate, State Representative, County Com, and School District. Okay, well, it doesn't have the right name, so this isn't the right card. So where's my voter information card, right? We really don't need to go any further than that. There's the one fact, right? You're supposed to send me a voter information card, and I got sent a voter identification card. They're not the same. They don't have the same title. And as I'm going to show you, they don't have the same information. Right? This one says Congressional, State Senate, State Representative, County Commissioner. District numbers, precinct number, polling places. Doesn't say anything about a school district. And then it has it written out, Congressional and County Commissioner. But again, it doesn't say anything about a school district. But mine does. Right? It's got a school district on there. And it doesn't say county commissioner, it says county com. And, you know, there's room to put commissioner. They could put state representative, but they didn't. And so this is a simulated legal process, right? They're giving me to satisfy the requirement that I get sent something from the clerk, right? But I don't believe the clerk is looking that close to see, well, it's not a voter information card. Like it says, it's this other document called a voter identification card. This is the wrong form. Now, what happens, though, if you don't get a voter identification card is it goes on further. Return voter identification cards. If a voter identification card is sent to an elector, right, not a voter, to an elector, this is the thing in the Constitution. This is the office of elector, right? This is the office to have if you're one of us. We should be the elector, not a voter. If the voter information card sent to an elector is returned as undeliverable, the clerk proceeds as appropriate under the procedures outlined in this chapter: address change within jurisdiction, written notice not provided by voter, or under move to a different jurisdiction, written notice on voter's registration and new jurisdiction of residence is not provided. The return information card is retained, and some clerks attach it to the voter MasterCard until the issue is resolved. But under no circumstances does the return information card result in voter's registration being canceled or rejected without going through the NRVA cancel process. Okay, but this is the document that proves that you are able to vote within the jurisdiction. And so there's, a hitch in the get along until it's been resolved. And my point is, maybe that's where the voter information card is. Because they didn't send it to you, they sent you a voter identification card. So who has the voter information card? Well, this should be the local jurisdiction clerk at the township, at the city, at the county, or whatever it is, however it's split up. This is, any place could be different, but it's all in the manuals how it's done. I'm just not going to go through all that detail. So they're not giving us the right card. It's really that simple. And so I want an answer, right? Because this is going to affect my federal voting rights. And where is that at? Here. So that's in here, right? So in Title 52, United States Code, Clerks, and voting and elections, it talks about let me get down here through all the notes. Jeepers, man. All right, generally, all citizens of the United States who are otherwise qualified by law to vote at any election by the people of any state, territory, district, city, parish, township, school district, municipality, or other territorial subdivision shall be entitled and be allowed to vote at all such elections without distinctions, race, color, previous condition, servitude, Okay, so, well, that isn't happening if I'm not getting the paperwork from the voter information card, because that proves that you were at that residence, right? That the address you gave them was good. Otherwise, it'll be returned to them to say it was a bad address. And that's how they make sure that the only addresses within the jurisdiction have persons that are qualified to vote. So in here it talks about preventative relief, injunction, rebuttal, literacy, presumption, liability of the United States for cost. Whenever any person has engaged or there are reasonable grounds to believe that a person is about to engage in any act or practice which would deprive any other person of any right or privilege secured by Section A or B, the Attorney General may institute for the United States or in the name of the United States a civil action or other proper proceeding So if it's not a civil action, it would be a criminal action for preventative relief. Right? Somebody needs to contact the Attorney General and tell the Attorney General that, you don't know why, but we're not handing out voter information cards. We're handing out voter identification cards. That was a thing. Now on the back of this thing, so on the back of mine, it has this form number, right? Form number 510, available from Printing Systems, Inc. And when, you can go look that site up, and sure enough, this card is on there, and but it's called a voter identification card, and that isn't what the law calls for. Now, another thing about the Michigan election law, right? So again, this would be for every state. You're going to have some law, act, whatever, that covers the elections. And in this Michigan one, you go through, it's got the governor, the lieutenant governor, the frickin' senators, state representatives, county officers, township officers, yada, yada, yada. But it doesn't have county commissioners, right? These people here, in Michigan, we have a board of commissioners, right? It doesn't have anything to do with these people's elections. So what are they being elected under if it's not this Michigan election law? Because, like here's mine. I should be in District 4, right? But Diane Jones' election as a commissioner isn't covered by the Michigan election law. So whose law is it covered by? I'd like to know. But the other thing is, in this Michigan election law, there's very few places where it talks about acceptance of office. And this is from research some years ago, that, in an election, it's one thing to be elected, but you have to accept the office. And there's supposed to be a document to do it. And, sure enough, in here, it's used a couple of times. Acceptance of office within 5 business days after certification of election. Each member elect shall be notified of the election within 10 business days after notification by the school district election coordinator of election or appointment to the board. Each person shall file with the secretary of the board an acceptance of the office to which the person has been elected or appointed. All right, so school districts do it. Now, school districts were here before the state was, right? There was already a school system before the state was created, back when the state was just a federal territory. And, so your local school district is actually, according to Thomas Jefferson then, would be your elemental republic, right? The smallest republic that every person knows every other person in. And so like in my township, there used to be 6 schools. So there'd be 6 different school districts within a township that's only 6 miles by 6 miles. So this is something you could walk to very easily. And, there would only be the people there within your little one-room schoolhouse jurisdiction. But that would be an elemental republic, right? These really small areas. Now, they can change these jurisdictions as far as how the elections and so forth are done, by vote. Maybe that's what's happened. I'm just saying that this school board existed before the state did, and they're asking for an acceptance of office, right? This is a federal office. I guess that's what I would say. It's a federal office. And then there's only one other place that talks about it is a Metropolitan District officer to neglect or failure to file an acceptance of office. Right? So we have these other ones called a Metropolitan election. And there's right, a Metropolitan District officer. And so this is like a whole different jurisdiction. Right? An individual is eligible for election as an officer to the legislative body of a metropolitan district if the individual is a citizen of the United States. Well, that's what I want to be. Right? That's the thing that's protected by the Constitution. The only time, other than the word citizen by itself in the Constitution, the only way you see the word citizen used is just like that. Citizen of the United States. It never says U.S. citizen, United States citizen, American citizen, or any other citizen. It just says citizen of the United States. Well, somehow we have these metropolitan districts. And, they have their own elections and so forth, right? You can be elected to this office, and it has its own legislative board. And, sure enough, they passed a law. There's always something to back this stuff up. So where is that thing at? That was... Oh, hang on a second here. Okay, so here we are in the Michigan election law talking about a metropolitan district election, right? So this is like a township election or a county election or whatever. This is some kind of entity that you vote for, which, as it turns out, they had passed an act for, right? The Metropolitan District Act back in 1929, an act to provide for the incorporation by any two or more cities, villages, or townships, or any combination or parts thereof of a metropolitan district comprising territory within the limits and for the purpose of acquiring, owning, operating parks or public utilities for supplying sewage, disposal, drainage, water, transportation, or other combination thereof. To provide that district may sell or purchase sewage disposal drainage rights. This all has to do with the drain commissioner, right? Which is a big deal. But I had read an article one time where this was like from back in the 60s or 70s, and it was some drain commissioner was being taken to court, and he said that the drain commissioner has more power in the state than the governor does. So anyways, right, they have these districts. They have elections. And, your township, so my point is the township building you see, that may not actually be your local government. It could be that this, they've combined together and they made some metropolitan district, and it's actually in charge. And so where I live, we have these metropolitan areas, they call them, of Michigan, which Grand Rapids has one. And you go and look in it, and it shows Grand Rapids, Michigan, Berry County, Ionia County, Kent County, Newaygo County. That all of these make up this metropolitan area. And there's Oakfield Township, right? So, like I said, it could be 2 townships or larger, and this is obviously much larger than 2 townships, but is this the place where we're actually supposed to be being registered at as a registered elector of the United States? And not down at the township, which is, just pretending to be the township, because way back in the day, they did this Metropolitan Act and they combined them together. And over time, people forget things and they start doing them by custom. And all these entities have attorneys that are telling them what to do, right? So they're getting all this false information from fork-tongued liars. And pretty soon they're just, afraid to do anything except what the attorney says. They don't ever bother to go read the law. But the law clearly says, as far as the voting is concerned, that you're supposed to get a voter's information card. instead of a voter identification card. So what to do about it? So if you are, hopefully, an election clerk, let's say of a Michigan township, right, in the law for townships in Michigan, it has in here a section about statements to supervisor, oath of office, in which it says the supervisor of a township may place a person under oath on any of his or her statements made to the supervisor in his or her official capacity as a supervisor. So I'm thinking about going down there myself to file a complaint and say I want this guy to take my statement, right? But this would have a lot more power if a clerk was to do it, who's supposed to be the resident expert on elections, right? And what we want to do is complain to the United States Attorney General so that he can get an order issued to have this right here. The court may appoint one or more persons who are qualified voters in the judicial district to be known as voting referee, who shall subscribe to the oath of office prescribed in Section 3331, so they can be a federal officer, to serve for such period as the court shall determine, to receive such applications and to take evidence and report to the court findings as to whether or not any election or elections of any such applicant is qualified under the state law to vote, and two, he has since the findings by the court heretofore specified been A, deprived or denied under color of law, that's what's happening. This is all color of law because we're getting a document that says voter identification card instead of voter information card. That's called color of law. The opportunity to register to vote or otherwise be qualified to vote. Found not qualified to vote by any person acting under color of law. Right? These people are acting under color of law. They don't have a proper oath of office file. You know, if you've been watching my videos, I've been showing that unless they filed the oath that's in Title IV of the United States Code, Section 101, which you can easily find by Googling for USC, United States Code 101, it has a short little oath that every officer of the state has to take before they can have any authority in the state. So says the federal government. And they don't care if you have to take another oath of office. That's not their deal. They're talking about federal government. Well, nobody's taken that oath. Right? So this is all federal. And so we need to get these referees in place ASAP so that we can get all this straightened out and get ourselves registered so that all citizens of the United States can vote. I'm just saying, you know, what they've done is they've, by, you know, color of law, we're being shown the township when somehow they've combined the townships or the cities or whatever. They made these metropolitan districts. And that's where all the actual paperwork might be, right? Where the voter information card is instead of the identification card. But until you find the voter information card, and let me find this one statement here. Hang on. All right, so again, according to the Election Officials Manual for Michigan Bureau of Elections, Chapter 2, which has to do with registration, it says, the successful delivery of the voter information card completes the registration process. Until you have a voter information card, you have not been registered, right? So you're being deprived or disenfranchised of your right to vote in federal elections. So, you know, forget what you think you've been doing when you're going to vote. That's all fucking show, brother. That means absolutely nothing. That has nothing to do with the United States. It may have something to do with the United States of America, King George's jurisdiction, but it ain't got a damn thing to do with the United States because you're not being registered as a citizen of the United States. And if you're not a citizen of the United States, then you're not protected by the Constitution. That's the way she works. So you need to be protected by the Constitution. And the only way to do that is, you know, to be properly registered as a citizen of the United States. At least that's what I'm saying for myself, and that's what I'm going to try to get done. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. That's enough information for this, right? It really was just this simple, that we're supposed to get this voter information card, but instead we're getting a voter identification card. I wanted to point out, see this, there's a perf line right here. So if I was to cut this off where it says to, right, detach here and then keep this part down here, you'd have no idea that this had come from Oakfield Township, or that it was called a voter identification card, or even what city township it is. It's going to split it right in half. Right? Was that done on purpose? Purposefully done? Because there's actually one more line up here. Should be the name of the clerk. Right? This Susan Trainer clerk is actually up here also on the form when you look at this form 510 or its derivative on right. You could go here to this Printing Systems Inc. and look under their election documents, and there it is. So it's all done this way on purpose, right? Purposefully done. It's the devil's in the details. And this is what's keeping us from having our rights to vote. And if we don't get this shit figured out, pretty soon there's going to be Chinese troops driving down your streets, or Antifa, or Black Lives Matter, or whoever it is on that particular day. So we need to get it done. And it would be a lot easier if the local election clerks would help. So that's the idea. We're going to get them to help if they like it or not. I'm hoping they just don't know this is going on, and once they understand it, they're going to be just all over it, and it'll all take care of itself. But until they do, right, I, you, we all have a duty to push them to do the right thing, because they have the power. We have the information, but we have no power. They have the power, right? If they had our information and their power, well, then we could get something done. So let's go inform them. Okay, have a great day.